Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim sat quietly in his chair as the voices around him grew louder. The Galactic Council chamber was huge, with seats for 12 different alien species arranged in a perfect circle. Each seat was built for a different kind of being. Some were tall, some were short, some breathed different air, but they all had one thing in common. They thought humans were not important. "The threat from the rim worlds is real," Hyun-woo said when the noise finally stopped. He stood up slowly, his dark blue uniform neat and clean. "Our scouts have seen strange ships. They move in patterns we don't understand. They attack without warning." Counselor Vexithara made a sound like laughing, but not the good kind. The Kelthian was tall and thin, with skin that looked like purple metal. "Humans always see war everywhere," he said. His voice was cold. "You have been in the council for only 50 years. We have kept peace for thousands." Dr. Yoonji Park, who sat behind Hyun-woo, opened her datapad. She was younger than the ambassador, with short black hair and quick fingers. "The energy readings from the rim show technology we have never seen before," she said. "The attack patterns suggest they are looking for something specific." "Primitive thinking," another counselor said. "This one looked like a floating jellyfish made of light." "Humans see threats because that is all they know. Violence and war." Captain Dongmin Lee stood near the wall with the other security officers. His hand moved slightly toward his weapon, but he stopped himself. He had heard this kind of talk for months now. The aliens thought humans were just violent animals who got lucky with space travel. High Arbiter Zolmoth raised one of his 4 arms. The ancient being was older than human civilization. His body was like smoke that sometimes became solid. "We will vote," he said in a voice that sounded like wind through caves. "All who support the human proposal for defense preparations." "Only." Hyun-woo raised his hand. "All opposed?" 11 hands, claws, tentacles, and energy fields rose into the air. The silence that followed was heavy. Hyun-woo looked around the chamber at faces that showed everything from boredom to disgust. These beings had ruled the galaxy for so long, they had forgotten what real danger looked like. "The humans are young," Vexithara said with that cold laugh. Again. "They will learn that not every shadow hides an enemy." Hyun-woo picked up his datapad and placed it in his bag. His movements were calm and careful. "Dr. Park, Captain Lee, please gather our materials." "Ambassador?" Dr. Park looked confused. "Are we taking a break?" "No," Hyun-woo said quietly. "We are leaving." He walked to the center of the circle where a small platform let speakers address the full council. The chamber grew quiet as the aliens realized something was happening. "Honored counselors," Hyun-woo began, his voice clear and steady. "For 50 years, the Terran Federation has tried to work with this council. We have followed your rules. We have respected your traditions. We have offered our knowledge and our friendship." Vexithara waved a hand. "Yes, yes, and we have been very patient with your—" "I am not finished," Hyun-woo said. His voice was still quiet, but something in it made the alien stop talking. "Today, you have made it clear that our voices do not matter. Our experience means nothing to you. Our warnings are just the fears of violent children." Dr. Park was putting files into boxes. Each file contained years of human research, studies about alien cultures, maps of trade routes, analysis of threats from unknown space, information that had taken decades to gather. "Therefore," Hyun-woo continued, The Terran Federation formally withdraws from all Galactic Council proceedings, effective immediately. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then, Vexithara started laughing. A tantrum! The humans are throwing a tantrum because they did not get their way. Other counselors began making sounds that might have been laughter in their species. The floating, jellyfish being pulsed with what looked like amusement. Hyunwoo did not react to the laughter. He simply walked back to his seat and began packing his own materials. Captain Lee and his security team moved to help, their faces showing nothing. "You cannot be serious," High Arbiter Zulmoth said. "Humans, you are being emotional. Take time to think. Come back tomorrow when you have calmed down." "We are completely calm," Dr. Park said as she sealed the last box. "We have thought about this for a very long time." She walked to Vexithara's station and placed a data chip on his desk. "This contains all our research about the rim anomalies, also our studies on defensive strategies and early warning systems. You might need this someday." The Kelthian looked at the chip like it was something dirty. "We do not need human war games." "I hope you are right," Dr. Park said. The humans packed quickly and quietly. They had practiced this, Hyunwoo realized. His team had been ready for this day. They knew it would come. As they walked toward the Pai exit, carrying boxes and equipment, the laughter followed them. Aliens made jokes about human pride and human anger. They talked about how humans would come back begging in a few days. At the door, Hyunwoo stopped and looked back one last time. The council chamber was beautiful, with walls that showed the stars and decorations from 100 worlds. For 50 years, humans had dreamed of being part of this, of belonging to something bigger than just Earth and her colonies. "Ambassador," Captain Lee said softly, "the ships are ready." Hyunwoo nodded. They walked through the station corridors toward the docking bays. Aliens they passed stared at them. Word was already spreading. The humans were leaving. At the dock, 3 human ships waited. They were smaller than most alien vessels, but they were tough and fast, built for long journeys and hard work. "Take us home, Captain," Hyunwoo said as they boarded. As the ships pulled away from Nexus Prime, no one came to see them off. No messages of farewell, no requests to reconsider. The great station grew smaller behind them until it was just another. "Sir." Inside the ship, Dr. Park sat down heavily. 50 years, she said. "Yes," Hyunwoo replied. 50 years of trying to make them listen. "Do you think they will realize their mistake?" Captain Lee asked. Hyunwoo looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, unknown ships were moving toward the galaxy's heart. Somewhere out there, danger was coming whether the Council believed it or not. "They will," he said quietly. But by then, it might be too late. Admiral So Young Choi stood on the bridge of the battleship New Seoul, watching the stars through the big window. 6 months had passed since the humans left the Galactic Council. 6 months of silence from the galaxy beyond. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "another trade request from the Kelthian merchant fleet. They want to dock at Station Busan." "Same answer as always," So Young replied without turning around. "We are not accepting non-essential traffic." The young officer nodded and sent the message. It was the 5th request this week. Before the humans left the Council, alien traders came and went freely through human space. Now the borders were closed except for emergencies. On the planet below, engineer Jae-min Yoon was working in his laboratory. The walls were covered with plans for new ships, new weapons, new ways to protect human worlds. For years, he had shared his designs with alien scientists. They had worked together, learned from each other. Now he worked alone, and his designs were getting better every day. "The new shield generators are ready for testing," his assistant said. She was holding a device that looked simple, but contained technology that would surprise the old council members. "Good," Jamin said. "Install them on the defense platforms. Around Earth first, then the colony worlds." Across the galaxy, diplomat Hye-Wan Shin was meeting with representatives from human colonies. They sat around a table in a room with no alien symbols, no council flags, just humans talking about human problems. "The Altair colony reports that Vorthak traders have been asking questions," one representative said. "They want to know why we stopped selling them quantum processors." "Because we don't sell to the council anymore," Hye-Wan replied simply. "The Vorthaks chose their side when they voted against us. But the processors were just for civilian use," another representative pointed out. Hye-Wan pulled up a holographic display. It showed trade routes that had connected the galaxy for decades. Lines of light that represented ships carrying goods from world to world. Many of those lines had gone dark. "Everything is connected," she said. "Civilian processors today, military applications tomorrow. We tried to warn them about threats from unknown space. They laughed at us. Now they can figure out their own defenses." Meanwhile, Merchant Captain Sung-Ho Baek was having a different kind of meeting. His cargo ship was docked at a neutral station on the edge of human space. Across from him sat a nervous-looking alien with blue skin and too many eyes. "Please," the alien was saying, "the hegemony needs medical supplies. The trade routes through Kelthian space are not reliable anymore." Sung-Ho sipped his coffee. It was real Earth coffee, something that used to be traded across the galaxy. Now, only humans could get it. "I'm sorry, but we're not running regular trade routes anymore." "But people are dying," the alien said. "This is about medicine, not politics." "Everything is politics," Sung-Ho replied sadly. "Your government voted to ignore our warnings. Now you want our help when things get difficult." The alien's shoulders dropped. "What if we paid double, triple?" Sung-Ho stood up. "It's not about money. We're protecting our own now. That's what the council told us to do, remember? Take care of ourselves and stop bothering them with our primitive concerns." As his ship left the station, Sung-Ho felt bad about the meeting. He didn't like seeing people suffer. But orders were orders, and the orders came from Earth. Human resources were for human use only. Back on the New Sol, Admiral So Young was looking at reports that worried her. Strange energy readings were coming from the galactic rim. Ships had gone missing. Entire colonies had stopped transmitting. "Ma'am," her science officer said, "we're picking up distress signals from the outer sectors, but they're not coming through council channels." "Patch them through," So Young ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was full of fear. It was speaking a language the computer had to translate. "Unknown ships. They came from nowhere. Colonies gone. Please, anyone." Then static. So Young closed her eyes. The threats that Ambassador Kim had warned about were real. They were happening right now. And the council had no idea. On Earth, in a building that used to house the council embassy, Dr. Young-Mi Ko was studying the same signals. She was a scientist who specialized in learning about dead civilizations. Now she was studying civilizations that were dying. "The pattern is consistent," she told her team. "The attackers hit the most advanced worlds first, places with lots of technology, lots of energy signatures." "What about less advanced worlds?" someone asked. "Those are ignored, at least at first." Dr. Ko replied. It's like the attackers are looking for something specific. One of her assistants raised a hand. Dr. Ko, shouldn't we tell the council about this? The room went quiet. For 50 years, humans had shared every discovery with the galactic community. It was natural to want to help, to warn people about danger. No, Dr. Ko said finally. They made it clear they don't want our input. They can figure this out themselves. Far from Earth, Scout Captain Tae-ho Nam was watching the destruction happen in real time. His small ship was hidden in an asteroid field, using human stealth technology that the Council had never bothered to study. Below him, a Kelthian research station was under attack. The attacking ships were like nothing he had ever seen. They were huge and dark, covered in strange patterns that hurt to look at. They moved without making sound, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. As he watched, the research station's defenses crumbled. The Council had built their stations to impress, not to fight. Beautiful towers of crystal and metal that could never stand up to a real assault. Recording everything, his sensor officer whispered. The attack was over in minutes. Where the station had been, there was now only debris and empty space. The dark ships had taken everything useful and left. Captain, Tae-ho wanted to help the survivors, but his orders were clear. Observe only. Do not engage. Do not reveal human presence. Send the data back to Fleet Command, he ordered. And find us another hiding spot. Something tells me we're going to see a lot more of this. Back in human space, the leaders were meeting to discuss what they had learned. Admiral So Young, Engineer Jae-min, Diplomat Hye-won, and others sat around a table on Earth. The attacks are getting closer to the core worlds, So Young reported. The unknowns are moving faster than the Council can respond. Their defense plans are failing, Jae-min added. They're using the same strategies they've used for centuries. But these attackers are different. Hye-won looked at the star maps on the wall. Red marks showed where attacks had happened. Yellow marks showed human colonies. The red was spreading, but it was avoiding the yellow. They don't see us as a threat yet, she said. Our technology is different. Simpler in some ways. Maybe that's protecting us. For now, Admiral So Young said. But eventually they'll come for us too. Outside the meeting room, normal life continued on Earth. Children went to school. People worked in farms and factories. Ships carried goods between human worlds. But everyone knew something had changed. The galaxy felt different now. Quieter. Smaller. In the past, humans had been part of something bigger. Now they were alone, building walls around their worlds while the universe burned beyond. Some people asked if they had made the right choice, if they should have stayed and tried to help. But most people remembered the laughter in the council chamber. They remembered 50 years of being treated like children. They remembered warnings ignored and friendship rejected. The aliens had made their choice. Now humans were making theirs. And in the darkness between stars, unknown ships continued. Their slow advance toward the heart of the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Jin-Soo Park watched the holographic display with growing concern. 1 year had passed since humans left the Galactic Council, and the galaxy was falling apart. Show me the latest attack patterns, he ordered. The display changed. To show the outer rim of the galaxy, red dots marked where worlds had gone silent. There were so many red dots now that they looked like a spreading disease. Sir, his intelligence officer said, we finally have clear images of the attackers. The hologram shifted to show a massive ship. It was dark and angular, covered in what looked like machinery that moved on its own. Parts of the ship seemed to eat light itself. "My God," someone whispered. Jinsu had seen many alien ships in his career. Beautiful council vessels that looked like art. Rough trading ships built for work. Military craft designed to intimidate. This ship was different. It looked hungry. "What are they calling themselves?" Jinsu asked. "The few survivors who escaped call them Devourers," the officer replied. "The name seems accurate. Dr. Youngmi Ko was studying the same images in her laboratory on Earth. She had spent her life learning about ancient civilizations, trying to understand how great empires could disappear completely. Now she was watching it happen in real time. They're not just destroying the worlds," she told her research team. "They're taking them apart piece by piece. The metal, the technology, even the organic matter. Everything gets processed and absorbed." "Why?" her assistant asked. Dr. Ko pulled up another display. It showed energy readings from before and after an attack. "They're converting matter into something else, some kind of construction material. Each world they consume makes them stronger." On the bridge of his stealth scout ship, Captain Tae Ho Nam was getting too close to the enemy for comfort. But he needed better data, and his ship was the best at staying hidden. "Distance to the Devourer fleet?" he asked quietly. 2,000 kilometers and closing," his pilot replied. "They haven't detected us yet." Through the main viewer, Tae-ho could see dozens of the dark ships. They moved in perfect formation around a dying world. Streams of energy connected the ships to the planet's surface, slowly pulling it apart. "Are you getting this?" he asked his sensor operator. "Every detail, sir. But, sir, you need to see this." The display showed the planet's technology signatures. Before the attack, it had been a major Kelthian industrial world. Millions of people, thousands of factories, massive energy generators. Now, those energy signatures were being absorbed into the Devourer ships. The technology wasn't being destroyed. It was being taken. "They're not just raiders," Tae-ho realized. "They're collectors." His communications officer looked up with fear in her eyes. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions from the planet. Survivors are calling for help." Tae-ho closed his eyes. His orders were clear. Observe only. But listening to people die was harder than he had expected. "Record everything," he said finally. "Someone needs to know what happened here." Meanwhile, in what remained of the Galactic Council, panic was spreading faster than the attacks themselves. Counselor Vexathara stood in the emergency session, his purple skin pale with fear. Half the council seats were empty now. Those species had either been destroyed or had fled to protect their own worlds. "We need a coordinated defense," he was saying. "Every remaining fleet must work together." High Arbiter Zulmoth's ancient form flickered with stress. "The hegemony fleets are scattered. The Vorthak military is in full retreat. We cannot coordinate what no longer exists." "Then what do you suggest?" Vexthara demanded. Another counselor, one of the few jellyfish beings still alive, pulsed weakly. Perhaps we should ask for help." "From who?" Vexathara laughed bitterly. "The humans. They abandoned us, remember? They walked away like children having a tantrum." "Did they?" the jellyfish being asked. "Or did we drive them away with our arrogance?" The chamber fell silent. For the first time in months, someone had spoken the truth they all knew, but none wanted to admit. "The humans predicted this," High Arbiter Zulmoth said slowly. "Their warnings, Their defensive strategies, they were preparing for exactly this kind of threat. Back in human space, Admiral So-Young Choi was reviewing reports from her scout fleets. The news was bad, but not unexpected. The Kelthian home system fell yesterday, her aide reported. 17 billion casualties. The survivors are fleeing toward the galactic center. Any heading toward human space? So-Young asked. Yes, ma'am. 3 refugee fleets. They're requesting permission to cross our borders. So-Young considered this. Human space was surrounded by buffer zones now, areas where her ships patrolled to keep aliens out. But these weren't traders or diplomats. These were people running for their lives. Grant them safe passage, she decided. But make it clear they cannot stay. We'll provide fuel and medical supplies, then they continue on. Ma'am, another officer said, we're also detecting multiple Council attempts to contact Earth. Priority diplomatic channels. Same response as always, So-Young replied. We are not currently accepting Council communications, but privately. She wondered how long they could maintain their isolation. The Devourers were getting stronger with each world they consumed. Eventually, they would turn their attention to human space. Dr. Ko was thinking the same thing as she studied the latest intelligence reports. The Devourer advance was following a clear pattern, moving from the technologically advanced worlds toward the simpler ones. They're saving us for last, she told Admiral Jinsu during a secure video call. Our technology is different from Council races, less sophisticated in some ways but more distributed, harder to absorb quickly. How much time does that give us? Jinsu asked. Maybe a year if we're lucky. But sir, I don't think we can fight them alone. Jinsu's face was grim. The politicians will never agree to help the Council. Not after the way they treated us. Then maybe we don't help the Council, Dr. Ko suggested. Maybe we help the survivors, the refugees, the people who had nothing to do with the decisions their leaders made. That evening, Captain Taeho Nam's ship arrived at a human military base carrying more than just intelligence data. In his cargo hold were 43 aliens from 6 different species, survivors he had rescued from a destroyed research station. I know it's against orders, he told Admiral Jinsu, but I couldn't just leave them to die. The survivors were brought to a medical facility where human doctors treated their injuries. Many had never seen humans before, except in Council propaganda, videos that portrayed them as violent primitives. Now they saw humans working carefully to save alien lives, asking nothing in return. One of the survivors, a young Kelthian named Dalthek, approached Captain Taeho as he prepared to leave. Why? Dalthek asked. Your people owe us nothing. We laughed when you left the Council. Taeho looked at the young alien. He was barely an adult, probably hadn't even been born when humans first joined the Council. Because it's the right thing to do, Taeho said simply. As news of the rescue spread through human space, something began to change. People started asking questions. Should they really abandon the galaxy to the Devourers? Were they any better than the Council if they stood by and watched entire civilizations die? On Earth, President Min-Ho Lee was facing the hardest decision of his career. The Galactic Council was collapsing. Billions were dead or fleeing, and somewhere in the darkness, the Devourers continued their slow advance toward the heart of the galaxy. The humans had the knowledge to fight back. They had seen the enemy's weaknesses, understood their patterns. But helping would mean breaking their isolation, risking their own people for aliens who had rejected them. As he looked out at Earth's night sky, President Lee wondered if humanity's greatest test was just beginning. President Min-Ho Lee stood in his office on Earth, looking at reports that made his heart heavy. 18 months had passed since humans left the Galactic Council. In that time, half the galaxy had gone silent. "Sir," his aide said softly. "Hi. Arbiter Zulmoth is requesting a meeting. He's here personally. His ship is waiting at the border of our space." Minho turned from the window. The ancient alien leader had never left his station before, not in 1,000 years of rule. For him to come to Earth meant the situation was truly desperate. "Where is the rest of the council?" Minho asked. "There is no council anymore, sir. It dissolved last week when the remaining members fled to protect their own worlds. At the military headquarters, General Hae-Jin Kim was studying battle reports with her staff. She was Ambassador Hyun Woo's sister, but where he had been a diplomat, she was a soldier. And right now, she was planning for war. The Devourer fleets are 3 months from the outer human colonies, she told her officers. They've consumed everything in their path. No survivors. "What about the aliens requesting sanctuary?" one officer asked. Hae-Jin pulled up a holographic display showing refugee movements. Streams of alien ships were flowing toward the Galactic Center, desperate to escape the advancing Devourers. "Refugee Coordinator Jung is handling them," she said. "We provide medical aid and supplies, but they cannot stay. Our resources are for our own defense." Kyung-Soo Jung was indeed busy with refugees. His ships patrolled the borders of human space, helping aliens who arrived in broken ships with stories of horror. "Please," a Vorthak captain was begging him over the communications channel. "My people need medicine. Children are dying." Kyung-Soo's medical team was already transferring supplies to the alien ship. "We've given you everything we can spare," he said gently, "but you cannot stay here." "Where? Can we go?" the captain asked. "The Devourers are everywhere." Kyung-Soo had no answer. Human space was an island of safety in a galaxy that was being consumed, but it was not big enough for everyone. Meanwhile, Dr. Yoon-ji Park was working day and night in her laboratory. She had returned from retirement to help analyze the Devourer threat. Her screens showed technical data that would have amazed the old council. "They're not just machines," she explained to President Lee during a video call. "There's some kind of intelligence directing them, something that learns and adapts. Can we fight them?" the president asked. Dr. Park nodded slowly. "Yes, but not the way the council tried. Their massive fleets and energy weapons just made the Devourers stronger. We need a different approach." "What kind of approach?" "The human kind," Dr. Park said, with a small smile. "Small groups, hit-and-run attacks targeting their weak points instead of their strengths." President Lee ended the call and walked to his conference room. The decision he was about to make would change everything. An hour later, his shuttle was flying toward the edge of human space, where an ancient alien ship waited in the darkness. High Arbiter Zulmoth's vessel was beautiful, but dying. Parts of it flickered and went dark as power systems failed. The great leader's civilization was ending, and his ship showed it. When President Lee stepped aboard, he was amazed by how small Zulmoth looked. Without the Grand Council chamber around him, the ancient being seemed fragile and old. "President Lee," Zulmoth said, his voice like wind through empty corridors. "Thank you for seeing me." "High Arbiter," Lee replied with a polite bow. Human diplomacy was built on respect, even for former enemies. They sat in Zulmoth's private chamber, surrounded by artifacts from 1,000 worlds. Many of those worlds no longer existed. "I have come to apologize," Zulmoth said simply. Lee said nothing. He had learned from Ambassador Kim that sometimes silence was the best response. For 1,000 years I led the council, Zulmoth continued. I believed our way was the only way, peace through order, stability through hierarchy. But we were wrong. About what specifically? Lee asked. About everything. About war. About threat assessment. About humans. Zulmoth's form flickered with emotion. Your people tried to warn us. You offered strategies and knowledge. We dismissed you as primitive. Yes, you did. Now my civilization is dying. The Devourers consume everything we built, everything we were proud of. And the only people who saw this coming were the ones we refused to hear. President Lee stood up and walked to a window that showed the stars. What do you want from us, High Arbiter? Help, Zulmoth said quietly. Partnership. A chance to rebuild something better from the ashes of what we destroyed. Under human leadership? Lee asked. Under any leadership that works. We offer you equal partnership in a new, galactic government, shared power, shared decisions. Lee turned back to face the ancient being. The same offer you could have made 18 months ago, when there was still time to save everyone. Zulmoth's shoulders dropped. Yes. High Arbiter. Let me show you something. Lee activated his portable holographic projector. It showed technical specifications and battle analysis that made Zulmoth's 4 eyes widen. This is what we learned while you ignored us, Lee said. Devourer technology, attack patterns, weak points. How to fight them effectively. You have solutions? Zulmoth asked with hope in his voice. We have some answers, Lee corrected, but implementing them would require cooperation from multiple species, the kind of cooperation the old council never achieved. We can do better this time. Can you? Lee asked. Because the last time we offered our help, your people laughed at us. They called our strategies primitive. They said we saw war everywhere because that's all we understood. Zulmoth was quiet for a long moment. You are right to be angry. I'm not angry, Lee said, and he meant it. Anger would be a waste of energy, but I am careful, and I need to know that this isn't just desperation talking. What would convince you? Lee sat back down. Actions, not words. The refugees fleeing toward the galactic center. They need a place to go. A safe world where they can rebuild. Yes, we could provide that world. But it would require all the surviving species to work together, to follow human military doctrine, to trust our judgment about defense and strategy. Even species that laughed at you before? Especially those species, Lee said firmly. Because if they can't learn from their mistakes, then they'll just repeat them. Zulmoth considered this. What would this new cooperation look like? Lee activated another hologram. It showed a military structure unlike anything the Council had ever used. Small, flexible units working together, each species contributing their unique strengths under unified command. Not a council, Lee explained. Not a hierarchy with one species on top. A true federation where decisions are made by consensus and expertise, not by age or tradition. And humans would lead this federation. Humans would serve it, Lee corrected. There's a difference. As their meeting continued, other discussions were happening across human space. General He Jin was briefing her officers on new battle plans. Dr. Park was sharing her research with alien scientists who had sought sanctuary in human territory. And in the refugee camps at the edge of human space, something remarkable was happening. Aliens from species that had been enemies for centuries were working together, united by loss and hope. A young Kelthian named Dalthek, the same one Captain Te-Ho had rescued, was teaching Vorthak children how to repair electronics. A hegemony engineer was sharing water purification techniques with jellyfish beings who breathed liquid. "Why are the humans helping us?" a child asked Dalthek. Dalthek remembered his conversation with Captain Te-Ho. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said. When President Lee's shuttle returned to Earth, the media was waiting. The whole galaxy knew about the meeting, and everyone wanted to know what humanity would decide. "Will we help the refugees?" a reporter asked. "Will we fight the devourers?" asked another. "Will we restore the Galactic Council?" President Lee stood before the cameras and microphones, thinking about all the conversations he'd had over the past months. General He-Jin warning about the military threat. Dr. Park explaining the technical challenges. Kyung-Soo describing the desperation of the refugees. But mostly he thought about what kind of people humans wanted to be. Not just in the galaxy's eyes, but in their own. "The human race will hold a referendum," he announced. "Every citizen will vote on whether we should break our isolation to help fight the devourers." "What do you recommend, Mr. President?" someone called out. Lee looked directly into the camera. "I recommend we remember that we judge ourselves not by how we treat our friends, but by how we treat those who have wronged us." The vote was scheduled for 1 week later. As word spread across human space, something remarkable happened. Aliens. In the refugee camps asked if they could help with the campaign, not to influence the vote, but to share their stories, to let humans know what was at stake. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The results came in just as the Devourer fleets reached the border of human space. After a week of debate across every human world, the vote was close but clear. 54% in favor of helping. Humanity would break its isolation. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the battleship Incheon, wearing his military uniform instead of his old diplomatic clothes. 2 years ago, he had been laughed out of the council chamber. Now he was commanding the largest fleet humans had ever assembled. "Status report," he ordered. 47 human ships ready for battle, his tactical officer reported, plus 63 alien vessels that joined us at the rally point. Through the main viewer, Hyunwoo could see the refugee ships that had become warships. Kelthian freighters with human weapons bolted to their hulls. Vorthak research vessels converted into mobile command centers. Even some jellyfish beings flying, in their liquid-filled spheres, ready to serve as communication relays. "It's not much of a fleet," his second-in-command observed. "No," Hyunwoo agreed. "But it's what we have." Commander Ji-hoon Seo was coordinating the alien vessels from his smaller ship, the Gwangju. He had spent the last month teaching alien crews how to fight using human tactics. "Remember," he broadcast to all ships, "we don't fight their strengths. We don't try to match their firepower. We use speed, coordination, and surprise." On one of the alien ships, Dalthek was serving as a communications officer. The young Kelthian had volunteered immediately when the call went out for crew members who could speak multiple languages. "Human fleet, this is Vorthak Vessel Hope," he translated as messages flowed back and forth. "Ready to follow your lead." It was strange, he thought. A year ago, his people had considered humans to be primitive. Now they were trusting human commanders with their lives. Back on Earth, Dr. In-Young Choi was making final preparations in her laboratory. She was the scientist who had found the key to defeating the Devourers, but the solution was dangerous. "The quantum disruption device is ready," she told President Lee over the video link. "But, sir, we only get one chance with this. If it fails, If it fails, we're all dead anyway, Lee replied grimly. Do it. The plan was complex but simple, at its core. While the main fleet kept the Devourers busy, a small strike team would penetrate to the heart of their formation. There, Dr. Choi's device would disrupt the quantum links that connected all Devourer ships to their central intelligence. It was the kind of plan the old council would never have attempted. Too risky, too dependent on cooperation between different species. But as Admiral Hyun-woo had learned during his diplomatic career, sometimes the impossible was just another word for untried. All ships, begin final approach, he ordered. The combined fleet moved toward the Devourer formation. Ahead of them loomed dozens of the dark ships, each one the size of a small moon. They moved in perfect coordination, like parts of a single massive machine, which Dr. Choi had discovered was exactly what they were. Contact in 60 seconds, Commander Ji-hoon reported. All alien vessels report ready. Hyun-woo felt a moment of doubt. He was asking aliens who had never fought together to trust human battle tactics against an enemy that had destroyed countless worlds. Then he remembered the refugee camps, the children asking why humans were helping them, the hope in survivors' eyes when they learned someone was willing to fight back. All ships, he broadcast. This is Admiral Kim. 2 years ago, the Galactic Council refused to listen to our warnings. They said we were too primitive to understand galactic affairs. Today, we show them what primitive means. The first wave of Devourer ships opened fire. Energy beams that could crack planets lanced through space where the fleet had been moments before. But the human ships weren't there anymore. They scattered like leaves in a storm, each group following attack patterns that seemed random, but were carefully coordinated. Strike Alpha. Hit their port sensors, Ji-hoon ordered. Strike Beta. Target their communication arrays. The alien crews followed human orders without question. Kelthian ships darted between the massive Devourer vessels, laying mines that disrupted their power flow. Vorthak vessels used their advanced sensors to guide human missiles to weak points in the enemy armor. For the first time since the attacks began, the Devourers seemed confused. Their perfect coordination faltered as human tactics disrupted their communication networks. It's working, Dalthek called out from his station. The enemy response time is slowing. But the Devourers were learning. As the battle continued, they began to adapt to human strategies. Their formation tightened. Their firing patterns changed. We're running out of time, Admiral Hyun-woo realized. Ji-hoon, get that strike team to the target. Deep in the battle, Dr. Choi's ship was racing toward the largest Devourer vessel. This was the command ship, the central intelligence that controlled the entire fleet. Defense grid is too strong, her pilot reported. I can't get through. That's when Dalthek's voice came over the radio. Dr. Choi, this is the hope. We're going to clear you a path. Before anyone could object, the young Kelthian's ship accelerated toward the Devourer command vessel. Other alien ships followed, creating a protective corridor around Dr. Choi's smaller craft. You don't have to do this, Dr. Choi transmitted. Yes, we do, Dalthek replied. Humans taught us that doing the right thing isn't about owing someone. It's about being someone worth owing. The alien ships absorbed devastating fire as they escorted Dr. Choi to her target. Ships that had carried. Refugees just days before now carried hope for the entire galaxy. Target acquired, Dr. Choi announced as her ship reached the command vessel's surface. Beginning quantum disruption sequence. The device activated with a flash of light that seemed to bend space itself. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Devourer command ship stopped moving. Its weapons went silent. The perfect coordination of the fleet broke apart as individual ships lost contact with their central intelligence. "It worked," someone whispered over the radio. But the celebration was short-lived. The Devourer ships might have lost their coordination, but they were still individually powerful. And now they were acting like wounded animals. "All ships, focus. Fire on disabled vessels," Admiral Hyun-woo ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The battle continued for 3 more hours. Ships from a dozen species working together under human command, fighting with tactics that emphasized cooperation over individual strength. When the last Devourer ship finally went dark, a strange silence fell over the fleet. They had won. Against impossible odds, using strategies the old council had called primitive, they had won. "Casualty report," Admiral Hyun-woo requested quietly. The numbers were painful. 38 ships lost. Thousands of crew members from multiple species who would never see their homes again. But billions more would live because of their sacrifice. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors and engineers began studying captured Devourer technology, something remarkable happened. Representatives from the surviving alien species approached Admiral Hyun-woo with a request. "We want you to lead the new galactic government," High Arbiter Zulmoth said. The ancient being looked different, now somehow smaller but more dignified. "We don't want to lead anyone," Hyun-woo replied. "We tried being part of your system. That didn't work out well." "Then what do you want?" Hyun-woo looked around at the mixed crews working together to repair battle damage. Humans teaching aliens how to fix human technology. Aliens sharing their knowledge of space navigation with human engineers. "We want partnership," he said finally. "Real partnership. Not humans in charge, not aliens in charge. All of us working together because we choose to. Not because someone forces us to." "How would that work?" "Like this," Hyun-woo gestured toward the crews. "People making decisions based on expertise, not politics. Species contributing what they do best instead of trying to control everything." Dalthek, who had survived the battle, despite his ship being badly damaged, stepped forward. "Admiral Kim, my people would be honored to be part of such a federation." One by one, representatives from other species echoed his words. Not submission to human authority, but genuine partnership. "There's one condition," Dr. Choi announced as she joined the group. Her quantum device had revealed something important about the Devourers. "We know where they came from now. There are more of them out there, beyond our galaxy. This war isn't over." "Then we'll face it together," Zulmoth said simply. Months later, Admiral Hyun-woo found himself back in a council chamber. But this one was different. The seats were arranged in small groups instead of a hierarchy. Decisions were made by consensus, with expertise valued over age or tradition. The new Terran Federation accepts the membership application of the Kelthian Republic, he announced, using his new title as rotating chairman. It wasn't the old council. That had died with its arrogance and rigid thinking. This was something new, built on the hard-learned lesson that survival required cooperation, not domination. Outside the station's windows, ships from dozens of species worked together to build new defenses. Human tactical knowledge combined with alien technology and wisdom. The galaxy was healing, slowly, carefully, but genuinely. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, other threats waited. But for the first time in years, the civilized species faced the future together, as Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim had learned long ago.